you're joining us for the Daily Show today with live images from Team Brunel. Bauer Becking and the Dutch boat out on the water in leg 9 of this edition of the Volvo Ocean Race from Newport, Rhode Island to Cardiff in Wales. We're about a third of the way into the leg and Team Brunel have been on fire. They were the boat that led out from the import section of this offshore leg, and now they lead on the water, and the conditions look absolutely fantastic for them. They are blasting along at the moment with absolutely fantastic breeze, and it's been a real question mark as to whether this boat and the other boats in the south would be able to make their way up to the rum line and rejoin the boats in the north with good progress. And right now, it certainly seems like they've been able to do it. However, there is a bit of a question mark as to what's coming up because, of course, Dongfeng Race Team in the north is also making good progress, and we'll have more on that in just a moment. Don't forget, on today's show, and we started it yesterday, but we're going to give you another chance today. We've got our competition running, our life-size cutout of Bauer Becking, the skipper of Team Brunel, signed by the man himself. All we need you to do is answer our question about how far Team Brunel are going to sail in Bauer Beckings. If you're not sure what that means, stay with us. We will talk you through it at the end of the show. We're also going to be hearing from Chris Nicholson, onboard Team AkzoNobel, plus Xabi Fernandez, the skipper of the overall race leader, Mapfre, the boat in the north, who currently not doing too well as hearing from Roscoe Monson, the performance analysis expert on Team AkzoNobel. But let's take a look at the live positions at the moment out on the water. We were just looking at live shots from Team Brunel. We're going to go back to them in just a moment, but let's get an idea of where the fleet are. It is all about this fleet. 200 miles between the group in the north and the group in the south. The boats to the north, 3 of them. Dongfeng Race Team, who have seen themselves move up into second place. Charles Cordrelli has had to deal with some really bad light airs, along with Mapfre and Turn the Tide on Plastic. It has slowed the progress of these boats at times. Now, however, they seem to be underway. The boats in the south, it's a very different picture. Apart from Sun Hung Kai Scallywag, Team Brunel, in first position at the moment, is leading a charge with a very tightly packed bunch of 3. Vestas 11th Hour Racing, along with Team AkzoNobel, are just half a mile apart from each other, and only a few miles behind Bauer Becking and Team Brunel, just behind them. It is a real match race in the south, and they have got a very crucial time on their hands, making their way up north. But if we can, let's go back now to live images with Team Brunel. The north and the south are trying to close in, and as you can see, they're pretty happy about leading at the moment. We have got a number of crew on the deck at the moment. Carlo Hoosman wearing the horse's head. I have no idea why that horse's head mask is on the boat, or indeed on his head, but maybe he knew we were going to be linking live to them. And Ever the Joker, he is there at the moment, contributing to the boat speed in whatever way I'm sure he can with that mask on. But one thing's for certain, they are moving along very nicely. This has been a team that has struggled for pace in the early legs. They won the Southern Ocean leg. They were second by only 61 seconds on the last leg into Newport, very cruelly losing out to Mapfre right on the line in the light, foggy finish. And now on the water here, they are certainly performing well. Yesterday, in the positions that everybody was, with Team Brunel in the south and Dongfeng Race Team and Mapfre in the north and not doing well, it looked like if everybody finished in those positions, Team Brunel was going to be our new overall race leader. Since then, however, Dongfeng Race Team has decided to push forward and get themselves back underway. But Mapfre, well, they've been really shaking off the bad few days. Xabi Fernandez dialed into us before we came on air and gave us an update about what it was like sitting there, not moving on this very tricky leg.
Yeah, especially yesterday we stopped completely and much longer than we expected. Look, reminding the doldrums, no wind at all, and really couldn't move. I think thanks to the current, we were at least doing 3 to 5 knots towards the northeast, but not much wind. So, finally, last night we start moving properly, and now we start making big gains. So hopefully we can have another 2 or 3 skates this way. But, let's see how far ahead or not they ended up being the group in the south.
You must be glued to the position reports every time they come in.
Yes, so yesterday was pretty hard to have a look on them because it's going to be bad, when you don't move yourself and you see you have no wind at all. It's hard. But, I think everyone is quite quiet, and, we know we have a lot of work to do now, and see what happens.
With such a big split, how has the nerves of your navigator, Juan Villa, been?
Well, he's all right. He's, we had a plan before the start, and, he's okay, and, like now trying to work out the best plan to catch up first Don Fernand to the tide, and then hopefully, ended up before or in front of the other group.
Tense times for Juan Villa, the navigator on board Mapfre, and indeed tense time to all the navigators, not least Team Brunel at the moment. We started the show with live images, and we can stay with them at the moment. Fingers crossed the connection holds out, because as we're saying, they are out there in the middle of the ocean. Right now, it looks like Nina Curtis on the helm of Team Brunel, sailing along, and the boat is absolutely ripping with speed. Remember, they are to the south, and the clock is ticking. They need to close down the miles to that group to the north, and they need to stay ahead. If you're there with the tracker, it is live on the website, you will know that Dongfeng Race Team and Team Brunel, in distance to the finish, well, there's only 2.5, 3 miles between those two. Very, very tense time for all the sailors on board. Very tricky sailing out there. Staying with Team Brunel live for the moment. This is the view from the top of the mast looking down. We might be about to lose the connection with Team Brunel. We're using the Cobham hardware at the back of the boat, beaming these images live over the Inmarsat network to us, and it's a real treat to be able to dial into the boats live, even if Carlo Husmann is in a little bit of a jovial mood. But one thing's for certain, the navigators are not having that much of a time off. They are keeping their eyes firmly on the weather and the strategy ahead. Brian Thompson on board Turn the Tide on Plastic, having to second guess the breeze every time it goes light.
I can see Dongfeng up there. There's a great big lift, so we'll probably get that soon, but we're just setting up to be able to tack. But what happens in these situations is normally just when you get ready, the wind shifts. And I think it's doing it now. But at least we're ready, because we know we've got to do at least one tack. But probably in this light air, it's going to be lots of little tacks waiting for the wind to fill in. But it's very, very shifty at the moment. And the other boats are so far away, it's almost a different race. We'll see what happens near Newfoundland when we all come together.
Well, that's what happens if the breeze doesn't play ball, but what about a difference of opinion? Spare a thought for Pascal Badigueri, the navigator on Dongfeng Race Team.
The tide, this direction is around 65, I think. When we want to bear away, we really not accelerate, because I think we lose wind.
No.
Why not?
The current just takes us the same, whatever angle the current takes the same. We don't lose wind if we bear away.
But if we go that way, we lose completely the wind, because we are against the tide. Oh yes.
The wind speed on the mast is exactly the same, whatever direction you point the boat. We might end up a day behind, but it won't be through lack of trying.
Why are all the sailors so on edge? Because the picture is changing so quickly, especially for that northern group. Just yesterday, Turn the Tide on Plastic were leading that pack, and rightly so, a chance for Di Cafari to soak it all up and celebrate.
Last time they were behind, they sneaked in front. If I get it now... I got evidence. Cha-ching! No, this will still be the lineup when we come into Cardiff. Could be. Checking that they're actually in the picture.
But how quickly all that has changed. The light winds rolled in once again for that northerly pack. Turn the Tide on Plastic were absolutely halted in their tracks. They were leading that northerly pack, but then over their shoulder, Dongfeng Race Team continued to make progress while Di Cafari's team struggled to get underway. This has put the Chinese boat now in a very strong position to the north. But from there, the breeze has been continuing even more. Just before we came on air, Mapfre sent us images of them taking in a reef. So from no wind to now having to reduce sail as the overall race leaders take in a reef and continue to plough ahead. Meanwhile, in the south, it's a very different affair. A match race between the boats. Take a look at this drone footage sent in from Team AkzoNobel. Vestas 11th Hour Racing just half a mile away, just in the distance, as these two boats lock head to head. Slightly behind Team Brunel, who at the moment are still leading, but it has certainly been an unbelievable battle that's raged out for the last 24 hours for these two teams. Something that Charlie Enright, the skipper of Vestas 11th Hour Racing, as he was discussing the strategic options, knew how important it was to stay on top of the advance from Team AkzoNobel.
Just hold on to Akzo, it's getting time.
Just hold on to Team AkzoNobel for the next sked. That was the command, but it's not that easy. The Dutch boat has managed to slip past Vestas 11th Hour Racing and are now sitting between them and Team Brunel. Chris Nicholson on board Team AkzoNobel, though, very happy to have the company out in the water.
For sure there's an advantage, each time, you know instantly that you're on the wrong sail or you have the wrong trim setup. And I think it's pretty rare that both boats kind of slow each other up. It's usually the other way around. They speed each other up. I know I'm supposed to look at the camera, but Vestas is just out of the field of vision from the camera, so they're about half a mile just down to leeward of us. Been neck and neck throughout the night, several tacks. We finally got through them, sort of, in phase of a couple of shifts. And now we're sort of side by side, and at times they got the legs on us, but we're still hanging in there.
And what about Team Brunel in first place? I mean, you guys seem to be pulling back the miles on each of the skeds. How's that battle going?
Yeah, well, it's still got a lot to play out because the conditions are going to change so much as we move along. We've been fast, been probably a fair bit of fast J0. Running towards the end, and that's what those guys are strong at. So we really need to step up and see if we can match Brunel in the couple of days ahead, and defend against Vestas.
Well, let's talk about the weather system. The northern and the southerly groups approaching it from different sides. I mean, I guess I know what you're going to say, but who's got it right?
Well, if you're guessing that I was going to say I'm not 100% sure, that'd be it.
So a little bit of everything for you guys at the moment, a big offshore leg and also a very tight match race. This is more enjoyable than if you're by yourself, for sure. It's nice to be tested by these guys, and it's funny, you think we're so far through the race and we're still learning how to sail the boat. And as I'm sure they are. Tense time for the sailors as the split starts to come to an end. But not only for the sailors and the navigators out in the water, for the rest of their team on shore, they are glued to the tracker, just as you should be. You will be able to see the progress of the North and the South every minute as it ticks by. And right now, Dongfeng Race Team up in the North are really vying for the lead in leg 9. They are only a few miles away to get closer to the finish and therefore be ranked first on leg 9. Team Brunel are going to have to dig very deep. At 1300 UTC, just as we came on air, that was when the position report went out to the boat. So they will know now what is at stake and just how close this race is, along with the performance analyst from Team AkzoNobel. Roscoe Monson dialed in just before we came on air to give us an idea as to how the race was going and what's still to come.
It's going to be very interesting. I mean, this is a very tactical transatlantic leg that the guys are doing. Normally, when a lot of the other boats try to do transatlantic record attempts, they try and sit on one weather system the whole way across the Atlantic. But as we've seen, the fleet now are on their way across. There are really three phases. This first phase that we've seen, the north-south split. Historically, the south is less risky. There's obviously more risk in the north, but if it goes light up there like we've seen, the guys can struggle. So it's going to be very interesting now for the boats in the south to try and get around the front of the boats in the north. That's what they're trying to achieve and jump into this next weather system.
A lot of race left, and I mean, by my eyes, certainly the split seems to be, the clock is ticking on the split. They're going to be coming together, 24 hours from now?
Yeah, 24 hours from now. They've got this high pressure system that's moving away from the fleet in front of them. and there's a new low-pressure system coming off Newfoundland. So the boats in the north, that was always their strategy to pick that up first, and they're going to start sailing pretty quickly. And then the boats in the south now have to close the gap and get northeast as fast as they can.
It's been nerve-wracking for the fans and nerve-wracking for the sailors for the last 3 days. The northerly pack shut down with the wind twice. The southerly pack, the risk was that they were going to be upwind all the way. Who do you think is breathing the biggest sigh of relief right now on the latest forecast?
I think initially the guys in the south are pretty happy with where they are. They're far enough east. And hopefully they're really looking down the next 24 hours to get into this new pressure. If they can get that, I think they'll do pretty well out of that. The guys in the north, they need this low pressure system to come in fast. The models that we see, actually, the weather systems are doing what the models say, but the timing is very different, and that's why it's so difficult. And that's where the two strategies have come about, how the guys have interpreted the models. So, but definitely those northern guys want to see that low pressure system catch them up pretty quick.
Roscoe Monson from Team AkzoNobel, he's unable to call who is going to be able to punch out ahead, the north or the south. And what I can tell you is Dongfeng Race Team has narrowed the distance down to just a single mile. They are about to be, if they continue this progress, the boat closest to the finish line in Cardiff, and therefore ranked first. And there's very little that Team Brunel can do about it. They are down in the south and just have to sail with the breeze they can. They are locked into the decisions that they have made. But now it is time for you to make a very important decision. At the top of the show, we were talking about our competition. This is what you can win. It is our life-size cardboard cutout of Bauer Becking, the skipper of Team Brunel, signed by the man himself. And it's a very simple question. The question is this: how many Bauer Beckings lying down end to end will Team Brunel sail between 1900 UTC on Thursday and 1900 UTC on Friday? You can enter this competition on the comments on this video on Facebook, on YouTube, using the hashtag BB, then a space, and then the total number of Bauer Beckings. But what is a Bauer Becking? How big is a Bauer Becking? How many Bauer Beckings will they travel? Well, take a look at this and we'll try to explain. Bauer Becking is 1.8 meters tall, or 0.0009 nautical miles. On their last 24-hour run, they've achieved 270 nautical miles, or 277,800 Bauer Beckings lying end to end. Do you think it's going to be more than that? Do you think it's going to be less than that? Well, for those of you that are not too sure and want to take a little bit of a guess, Roscoe Monson's here to give you a helping hand.
Well, who wouldn't want a life-size Bauer Becking in their life? You know, what can I say? I think in the region of 300,000 Bauer Beckings, up to about 600,000 Bauer Beckings, because that ties into the Abu Dhabi record at just over roughly 550 nautical miles for the run. So, yeah, I think somewhere in the region of that should get people pretty close.
Oh, there you go. It would be remarkable to see them do more than 600,000, but it's pretty confident they're going to do more than 300,000. If you're confident on your maths and you know about your weather routing, you can take an educated guess. Otherwise, just stick the pin somewhere between these two numbers, because this is what you can win, but this is what is at stake. The north and the south closing down on each other. At the moment, Team Brunel are still ranked in the #1 spot on leg 9 of this edition of the Volvo Ocean Race. Dongfeng Race Team, the Chinese entry, all the way up in the north, in second place, now less than a mile from taking the lead. Mapfre, the overall leaders, down in 6th place. An unbelievably, incredibly interesting picture right now happening on the race course. We are going to be keeping our eyes glued to the tracker and the progress of all the boats. Tomorrow, we're going to have a quick fix for you in the morning. 1300 UTC, another daily live, analysing all the moves that have worked out, talking to the sailors about what's going well out on the water, and trying to see who the winner of leg 9 is going to be as the north and the south come back together.